Hey, before you get started, dude, the weirdest thing happened. We were rolling out of Victory, and about a half a click from where our hotel is, there's a helipad. And I glanced over at it, and this, like, fucking badass Marine from Albuquerque, this friend of ours, Doug Zimbeck, got killed out here last year. And they named the helipad after him.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude.
So you want to talk about something huge on the local level? I mean, I got out and filmed the helipad, and, you know, it's Major Doug Zimbeck, the Lion of Fallujah. That was his nickname, was the Lion of Fallujah. Dude was just a straight-up badass. And, like in Albuquerque, they've named a high school gymnasium after him, and, you know, here just randomly out of the blue, out of chance, I run across this helipad that just happens to be named after him.
That's one of those things that should happen but doesn't usually, man. That's very cool.
Yeah, that was way cool. So, anyway, let's get it on.
All right. Well, hey, folks, Jim Hansen here. I'm talking with Shawn Bryan, who is on VFF's Back to Iraq trip and reporting for Black Bot. How you doing, Shawn?
Good, man. How are you?
I am very well. So now, we actually talked yesterday, had technical difficulties, so I'd like to, if we could, go back to your talking about the Sons of Iraq and some of the things that have been going on with them, you know, kind of taking charge of their whole neighborhoods. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, as we've been briefing with the higher staffs here, we're finding out on the surge that, you know, from the basic ground soldier all the way up to the generals that we've met with already, the surge has just been a just unbelievable success over here. I mean, we're seeing it for ourselves as we're on the ground. But one thing that we're finding out is that the surge is splintered into a three-headed snake, where it's become a presence amongst the Iraqi people. And part of that is that, you know, we had our surge, and now the Iraqi army, the National Police, they have increased their numbers. They're guesstimating between 100 and 140,000 members in the last, you know, 8 to 12 months since the surge, because there's more of a safety factor where they feel safer of being in the military now. And along with that came a group that we've dubbed, or they've dubbed, I don't know who dubbed them, but they're called the Sons of Iraq. And SOI has started their own surge themselves, you may want to call it, where, you know, now whenever bad guys come in from other areas and show up in neighborhoods, they find out real quick that they're not welcome. You know, like yesterday I was telling you, Jim, about the story about the kid. It was in one of the local provinces here. A child had picked up a water bottle on the side of the road that was rigged to an IED. Well, unfortunately, the IED went off and killed the child. The local Sons of Iraq knew instantly who had done it, because the cat that had put this thing together was the local bomb maker that had just been released out of jail due to the fact that they have due process now. And a fast-talking attorney got him out of jail. He'd only been home for a couple of days, and now a local kid blows up. So the Sons of Iraq rolled up on his house. A gunfight ensued, and somehow or another, this guy with bullet wounds to himself ended up in a open pasture with a suicide vest strapped to his body, and somehow it went off. Which, from what we gathered,
you're assuming he did.
Say again?
So you're assuming he just went off and had felt remorse and probably committed suicide to atone for his actions, right?
Well, we can't put it on it, but the local consensus from the Iraqi and the American military that I met with was that the Sons of Iraq said, okay, you want to come in and blow up our children, why don't we just go ahead and let you blow yourself up? And I don't think he had a whole lot of options on it. But, you know, these guys are starting to serve up Iraqi justice. You know, the surge is enabling them to start coming up with Iraqi resolutions to Iraqi problems. You know, not just in the counter-violence, but in just standing up. You know, the provinces where the IA are starting to take over, you know, they don't want us to leave them, but they want us to stand back and let them start handling things. And, their military from when I was last here in '05 has just shaped up into, they all have uniforms now, which that was something that the general and I talked about, was the fact that they have uniforms now. And that's such a pride factor for them, and they wear them proudly. The Shiite, Muslim, Sunni, Kurd, all of those words are being taken out of the military, and they're starting to have more of an Iraqi pride. And, we're Iraqis first, and then we're other things. And just as well as we as Marines, we're Marines first, then we're black, white, yellow, pink, whatever, Jew, Christian, but you're an American and you're a Marine first. And they're starting to actually understand that. And that's why they're becoming so much more proficient on the battlefields in chasing down the bad guys and all the other various things that they're doing.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I kind of doubt you saw the opening ceremonies for the Olympics, but a very touching moment happened during them when the Iraqi contingent walked into the stadium. They got an ovation that was louder than any ovation for any country but the host country, China. And I thought that was a moment where at least the rest of the world is looking at Iraq as a nation that's going forward now, not a failed state. And I think that's something that they seem to be feeling on the ground.
Well, and they do. Just as we talked yesterday, Jimbo, I have that same motivation today of you can feel the sense of positiveness. It's still a combat zone. It's still, 100 gazillion degrees a day. It's still a tough duty. But as you look around, you see this sense of progress, and it's an overwhelming sense. Anybody that doubts the surge would have to be just a pure dumbass, because it's here. The problem is, and I've heard this from general officers all the way down to privates, is that if certain factions had their way and started pulling us out of here, the momentum that has been built now would be completely disrupted, and the wheels would fall off of it. Iraq would become a complete disaster. Right now, we're on the road of progress. You see it everywhere in the construction, in all the things. Hey, they got an $80 billion windfall, and we, being a fast food mindset, are already jumping on the press and going, hey, where's our money at? I think that the smart people that are up in the higher echelons of life already have a plan for that money. We're not in the habit of just throwing money out the window. That money will help these people start getting their infrastructure.
And that's the key. I mean, the bottom line, the security seems to have gotten to the point where it's incumbent on the government of Iraq to start providing basic services to the people. And that's really where the momentum that you mentioned is going to continue. Have you seen in that AO, have you seen kind of a change in the U.S. mission from supporting the combat operations to supporting reconstruction?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of engineers running around. There's a lot of even in the IZ around Baghdad, you see the road improvements, you see electrical improvements. We were part of a meeting the other day on solar energy, where they're fixing to start spinning up a huge solar energy program here, because one of the problems is still electricity, getting enough of it. Well, they're gonna start countering that. These are things that are already being worked out, and with the solar energy panels that they're going to be running, it'll add 30% of the electricity to the city of Baghdad, which is, the city of Baghdad is just massive. It just goes on forever. And once they get that done, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
The folks you're with now, the 10th Mountain, you've been on a couple patrols with them. Are they really doing more show of force? I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of combat kinetic operations going on. So is it more that they're there to remind bad guys that there is a force behind the Iraqi security, but the Iraqi security is on the front line?
Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. This over here has shifted to such a non-kinetic fight. There is the occasional kinetics, but from the way higher echelons. And yesterday we were with General Buchanan. Tomorrow I'm with a different general, a Marine Corps general that's here. And from every one of their levels, it's the same thing. We have shifted from a kinetic level to a non-kinetic, and with the non-kinetics, it's more of a rebuilding phase at this point. It's let the IE and the ISF and the National Police, let them do their job. We're there to back them up. If a monster comes out of the closet that's too big, we'll punch them in the throat and send them down the road. But these guys are taking a lot of pride right now and saying, no, we want you guys to stay back. Let us fight our fight. This is my battle square. I'll control it. The one Iraqi general we spoke to has basically laid it down that with his colonels and his battalions and the sons of Iraq that are in his province, that if an IED goes off in their province, that he's holding them accountable for it. And his way of accountability.
So now an attack is an attack on their pride.
Go ahead.
So now an attack on them is an attack on the pride of these men who are protecting their families, and consequently they have some skin in the game and can take pride in protecting their villages and their tribes.
Exactly, and that's exactly how the general has put it to them. The sons of Iraq, they're the different sheiks, and basically what he told them is, he's like, hey, he pulled all 30 of the sheiks in his province together, and he says, hey guys, if an IED goes off, if it's in your little sector of the province, you're going to jail for it. I mean, these guys are not playing around now, and that has had a direct impact in what has caused the violence to drop. And when I say it's dropped, Jimbo, it's dropped drastically. Anybody that'll sit there and say the surge would have happened on its own would have to be out of their mind.
Well, I tell you, Shawn, it's really heartening to hear that the security progress has been so successful. And now, the one thing that has to tie it together is provincial elections. Have you heard anything locally? Are the people excited about the potential of another set of elections, and making sure that the government in Baghdad is representative of all the people in the provinces?
That is another one of the big discussions going on right now. And it's also a good barometer to measure how successful we've really been. We know that we've slowed down the violence. We know that we are seeing progress in the reconstruction of infrastructure around here. But how are the elections going to go? A lot of people are kind of leery, but it's funny. That was the same thought that we had in '05 as we were leaving. Wonder how the elections are going to go. I think that now that we have such a national pride, that starts from the family level, all the way up through the food chain, up to a national level, that I think that this election, they're going to really start kind of trying to get it, that, even in America, we have Republicans, we have Democrats, we have independents, we have liberals, tree huggers, and, nut jobs all around. Well, they have the same thing here. They take it too personal. And as they're starting to grow up and they're starting to mature as a people, I believe that we can also start maturing on looking at what's best for the nation instead of one little faction. We want our marbles, and if you don't let us play with them, we're going to take our marbles and go home. It seems like they're kind of growing out of that mindset and starting to see the big picture.
Well, I tell you, like we said, that has been the key all along. I mean, there was a necessity of creating a security environment that allowed it. But now it's a question of, it seems to me, that we've won the kinetic war, and now we have to start winning the peace. And that's a challenge. But the fact that the Iraqis have a pride in their own country, in their own villages, in their own safety and security and the quality of life for their people, I think the logical step is for them to take care of that and move into a government that's responsive to the needs of the people.
That's absolutely correct. And, you know, one thing that I absolutely don't want to leave out is not just the pride that they have, but the pride that our guys have. You know, the troops on the ground that we've dealt with over the last week, the boots that are out there kicking rocks and going through villages and dealing in the marketplaces and dealing with the guys outside the wire. You know, there's a huge pride. They really are enjoying what they're doing, which, you know, always takes me back to square one when we have political factions in our country who are constantly yelling and screaming, you know, hey, if you vote for me, I'll get us out of Iraq. Well, I don't know who us is, because us is not the jackasses sitting in an office over in the United States. Us is me and the guys that are on the ground here. And if the guys on the ground here believe in their mission and are carrying that same pride that they are, that, hey, you know what, we're actually doing something here now, then who are they to tell anybody that they want to pull them out of here?
Well, that sounds like the American fighting men that American fighting men and women that I'm used to hearing from and dealing with, same as you are. And that's a really heartening report, Shawn. I appreciate that. Once again, it's Jim Hansen, and we've been talking with Shawn Bryan, who is embedded right now with 10th Mountain Division in Iraq, reporting for Black 5 and a member of Vest for Freedom. And we greatly appreciate your taking the time and sacrifice to go over there and report on what the mainstream media really was not interested in, the fact that things are actually going well.
Not reporting on it, Jim, is a complete underestimate. When we get back, so many great things for you guys to see, because not reporting it is just completely off the charts. It's so the other way. It really is. And I'd like to say I'm being biased by being over here, but I'm not. I've met with too many guys, and it's just an awesome feeling to see what's going on here right now.
Well, once again, thanks a lot, Shawn. Stay safe. Tell the fellas and girls to keep driving on with their missions, and we'll make sure that the folks here in America get to hear about the good things that we have actually accomplished.
Roger that. I'll see you soon.